Welcome to 21st Sports Recap and Reaction for the Washington Redskins at the Dallas Cowboys in their Week 17 matchup played January 3rd, 2016. We're going to go over the scores and the stats and give our breakdown and analysis as these two NFC East division rivals were going at it. Nothing on the line. The Redskins had already shored up the NFC East Division title, but they were looking to even up the season series against the Cowboys, who had beat them earlier on in the season in Washington, and they were looking to return the favor in Dallas, just as they had last year when they beat the Cowboys with Colt McCoy under center. And although Kirk Cousins started things off, Colt McCoy would end up back under center in this game. But let's go into the scores. And in the first quarter, Kirk Cousins threw 3 touchdowns. Starting off with about 9 minutes left in the first, Cousins hit Ryan Grant for a 5-yard touchdown. Hopkins hit the extra point, and it was 7-0 Washington. So then Kellen Moore would be intercepted by Compton, and that would set up the second touchdown pass by Kirk Cousins, a 39-yard touchdown pass to Pierre Garçon with about 4.5 minutes left still in the first quarter. Hopkins added the extra point, and it was 14-0. Moore would then fumble the ball, and that was recovered by D'Angelo Hall, and that would set up the third touchdown pass of the first quarter for Kirk Cousins as he hit Jamison Crowder for a 3-yard touchdown pass. Hopkins added the extra point, and it was 21-0 with less than half a minute left still in the first quarter. Then in the second quarter, Dustin Hopkins added a 27-yard field goal. That made it 24-0 as the Redskins opened up this game with 24 straight points. Cousins would then leave the game as they would rest him for the playoffs, as this game was pretty well in hand. They already had the division, title sewn up, and they weren't going to get a first-round bye regardless, so they decided to rest Kirk Cousins. And now at this point, that's when the Cowboys started to put some points on the board. Kellen Moore hit Jason Witten for a 4-yard touchdown. That was with about 3.5 minutes left before halftime. Dan Bailey would kick the extra point, and it was now 24-7 with the Redskins still in the lead. Then with half a minute left before halftime, Moore went to Cole Beasley. Beasley wide open in the end zone for the 5-yard touchdown. Bailey added the extra point, and it was now a 10-point game with the score Washington 24, Dallas 14. So that was the score at halftime. Then in the third quarter, it was scoreless until with under 3 minutes left in the third, Dustin Hopkins hit a 33-yard field goal. That made it 27-14 as the Redskins extended their lead to 13 points. Then in the fourth, just 10 seconds into the fourth, Colt McCoy hit Rashad Ross for a 71-yard touchdown. That made it 34-14 after the extra point by Hopkins, as the Redskins were now up by 20. Then, a couple minutes later, J.J. Wilcox got a safety for the Cowboys against the Redskins to make it 34-16, and with about 4.5 minutes left in the game, Kellen Moore hit Cole Beasley for the second touchdown connection between the two in this game. With the extra point by Dan Bailey, that made it 34-23, and that would be the final score as the Redskins hold on to win this one and improve their record to 9-7 on the season as the NFC East Division title winner ends up above 500, and they're 3-5 on the road. The Cowboys failed to win a game at home without Romo, 1-7 at home on the season, 4-12 on the year. It's their worst record in 25 seasons. The last time they were this bad was when they were 1-15 back in '89 when Jerry Jones first took over. It was Jimmy Johnson was the coach. That was back with Aikman's rookie year. So it's been a rough year for the Cowboys, who came into the season as potential favorites for that East title. Of course, the two teams everybody was looking at was the Eagles and the Cowboys and possibly the Giants, but the Redskins, flying under the radar all year long, come away with the division. They come away with a victory here to build upon some momentum heading into the postseason, as they'll be hosting a game in the wild card weekend. And Kirk Cousins, he had quite the performance in limited play in this game is he was 12 for 15, 176 passing yards, and 3 touchdowns before leaving there in the second quarter. And that line right there is better than some quarterbacks' lines who played the whole entire game. But Colt McCoy was 7 of 11, 128 yards, and a touchdown, no interceptions in relief. Alfred Morris, 19 carries for 100 yards. And Jamison Crowder, 5 catches for 109 yards and a touchdown. Rashad Ross, 2 catches for 71 yards and a touchdown. Pierre Garçon, 3 catches for 49 yards and a touchdown. Jordan Reed, 4 catches for 45 yards. And Grant had 3 catches for 18 yards and a touchdown. And for the Cowboys, Kellen Moore, 33 for 48, 435 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Darren McFadden had 12 carries for 92 yards. Terrence Williams, 8 catches for 173 yards. Butler had 4 catches for 60 yards. Jason Witten, 6 catches for 58 yards and a touchdown. And Cole Beasley, 5 catches for 53 yards and 2 touchdowns. McFadden had 5 catches for 53 yards in this game, which gave him 146 total yards from scrimmage. Then we look at the kickers in this game. Dustin Hopkins was perfect, 2 for 2 on the field goals, 4 for 4 on the extra points. Dan Bailey was perfect, did not attempt a field goal, but 3 for 3 on the extra points. Then we look at the defense in this game. Blackman had an interception and a forced fumble. Compton had an interception as well. Baker had a sack. Kurse had a sack. Ryan Kerrigan had a sack. Smith had a sack as well. And for the Cowboys, Mitchell had a sack and a forced fumble. Hitchinson had a forced fumble as well. We look at the team stats, 27 first downs for the Cowboys, 19 for the Redskins. On third down, the Redskins were 7 of 14, 50%. And for the Cowboys, they were 2 for 10, 20% conversion rate on third down for Dallas. Both teams went for it once on fourth down, and they converted for 100% on fourth down for both teams. Total net yards in this game, 512 for the Cowboys, 437 for the Redskins. On the ground, Washington netted 146 yards, Dallas 100 yards netted on the ground, and through the air, the Cowboys netted 412. Kellen Moore sacked 4 times, losing a total of 23 yards. And for the Redskins, they netted 291, allowing 1 sack for a loss of 13 yards. And we look at the penalties in this game. 4 penalties against the Cowboys for 44 yards, 3 penalties against the Redskins for 20 yards. Both teams had 2 fumbles. The Redskins recovered all of the fumbles as they recovered their own fumbles and they recovered the 2 fumbles by the Cowboys. And then we look at the red zone, and Dallas was 3 for 4 for 75%. Washington 2 for 5 for 40% in the red zone. And the time of possession, 33 minutes, 57 seconds for Washington, 26 minutes and 3 seconds for Dallas. And this game, I mean, it was really over before it began almost, as the Redskins jumping out to that 24-0 lead. But of course, it's never over till it's over. Dallas, though, they put up some points and they got, within a couple scores, but really they didn't really stand a chance in this game, as Washington was just ran away with it, and they ended up closing this one out. They got such a big lead, put the Cowboys in a position where they had to pass a lot. The Cowboys did put up some pretty big numbers in this game for Kellen Moore, throwing over 400 yards, and Darren McFadden with almost 150 yards from scrimmage. But still, it's all about Kirk Cousins getting off to that hot start and those 3 touchdowns in the first quarter. And if he can play like this in the postseason, that wild card game is in Washington, and the Redskins are 6-2 at home this season, so the Redskins very well could win a playoff game. Don't be surprised to see that happen. The Cowboys, it's been a long year, and really ever since Romo went down, the season really just was over at that point, although they were clinging on to hope, and they actually even had a chance at taking this division. Just a month ago, they were still in position to potentially take the division, but they were never able to really get anything going. It's just too many injuries for the Cowboys this year. Of course, before the season began, they did not address the issue at running back. And McFadden looked all right, in the second half of the year. Of course, a lot of his yards came at points when they were already pretty much out of the game anyway. So it's not really a solution moving forward. The Cowboys have some issues they're going to have to address. They got to shore up that defense. And they also got to get a solid running back, whether it's in free agency or through the draft. Of course, we'll see what happens moving forward. You got to believe that Jerry Jones is going to make some big moves coming off of this season, one of the most disappointing seasons in his tenure as owner. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But the Redskins coming out big time, and they build upon their momentum moving forward into the postseason. They can ride this wave. You never know. They do have a good defense. They have a running game. And Kirk Cousins, if he can play solid, if he can play like this, it's going to be tough for anybody to beat him. So it'll be interesting to see what happens moving forward. But let me know what you think in the comments section below. Definitely interested to read your thoughts and opinions. Thank you very much for listening. It's greatly appreciated. Hope you're having a good week and having a great weekend and enjoying all the sports.